Hi, my name is Odelia Intiamwa, a journalist by blood, by birth, by whatever you would like to call it. However, I'm also a leader, a media leader, and I've interviewed about 8 presidents. I've trained 64 media leaders across the world for the BBC World Service. I've got a few tips for you to go home with when it comes to crisis communication. Several leaders have risen and fallen based on the fact that they did not prepare for crisis, and several organizations have totally gone under because they also didn't position when trouble happened or occurred. And therefore, if you're ready to solve some problems that could be happening to your business or your personal brand in the future, you are actually laying down the principles now. Please do join me. Now, if you're looking forward to dealing with crisis in your organization, the point is you will have to have a crisis team. So, depending on the kind of organization that you are in, putting together a crisis communication team is critical. It could be your corporate comms manager could be part of it. Your CEO could be part of this crisis comms team, and your legal. So it could be just made up of 3 people who form the crisis communication team for your organization. Now, this crisis communication team, what they are doing is, just in case the company slips, they are there to answer the critical questions. For some organizations, your risks are really high, and not having a crisis team in place is actually, you're just preparing yourself for disaster. For example, in high-risk organizations, the possibility of you having a crisis on quality standards, on accidents, amongst many other things, is really high. So once you are a high-risk organization, your seriousness towards crisis communication should even be taken to another high level. Now, what you need to do is, after you have put together your crisis team, 2, you should actually begin to have scenarios, create scenarios, run through the scenarios, find who will speak for the organization, and run through that with the person. I will recommend that you actually do interview whoever is going to be your spokesperson, so that you will be able to know the spontaneous way in which they answer the questions. And if your organization has the capability, do record. Once you record and play back, if all of you do not like the answers, you actually go through it again. Like fire drills, I think that every company should have consistent crisis communication drills to be able to prepare, position the scenarios, go through them, and be sure that your organization is really ready. I'll give you a typical crisis communication example that happened in Ghana, and how Shell or Vivo Ghana was able to really surmount the situation. The company actually it started from social media. So as soon as you see the crisis, where it started from is where you actually firefight from, or that is where you quench the fire from. So if it hasn't spread to other places, that is, the particular crisis situation hasn't moved from social media to traditional media, don't go on traditional media trying to solve the problem that occurred on social media, because you may actually be escalating the issue. So wherever it started from, you start from there. So Vivo had someone complain that their engine had broken down as a result of fuel contamination in a particular area. Apparently, when it rains, one of the highest risks that fuel companies face is that they could have their underground tanks actually have challenges with water. So water went into the fuel, and people began to have that breakdown when it comes to their engines. Vivo already had that scenario seated in their books. So they just pulled out the playbook, acted the entire thing throughout, and in 3 days' time, the entire crisis was over. So putting your team together, making sure that the scenarios are built and in place already, and also having the right kinds of answers, be empathetic. That is a critical aspect of things. It is not at that crisis communication press conference that you are going to be brutish and arrogant about the situation. Empathy, empathy, empathy. Make sure that you are empathetic. Even the tone of voice for your spokesperson has to be empathetic. I'll give you one company also that did poor crisis communication, which cost them billions of dollars. That is BP. BP had spilled in the Gulf of Mexico and animals were dying. There was so much of a mess. At the time, the BP CEO went on vacation, and when he came back, also he was asked a question, and he made a statement that, well, in as much as this entire thing is really frustrating, he can't wait for this to be over. Of course, there were people who were in a mess. Their livelihoods were really messed up. And this guy was just looking at himself and how he could quickly get out of the mess. Their spontaneity in actually answering and making sure that the crisis was tackled from day one was actually also not really well done in the long run. It is named as one of the case studies when it comes to poor crisis communication globally. My name is Odelia Intiamwa. Anytime you're looking for anything relating to communication, relating to leadership, and of course relating to great marriage and relationships, I'm the best person to reach out to. This is Odelia's Conversations. Please do enjoy your day. Bye.